In this lesson, we'll be focusing on how to use forms and fields in QuickBase. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to collect, manage, and share data with QuickBase, use forms to collect and edit and display this data, identify the various field types that are on the form, recognize form components like section headings, text sections, and fields, and we'll import and export from Excel, CSV, or TSV files, and customize your form's design. We'll also take a look at some basic form automation we call form rules. Let's get started. Let's begin talking about fields and forms by looking at an Excel spreadsheet. Notice we've got columns of information up above. These are going to be converted to fields when we import them into QuickBase. And each one of these individual rows will turn into records inside of QuickBase, and we'll see the information as it's displayed on a form. I'm going to come over and use the App Exchange and look for an application. I'm going to scroll down and find ABC Project Manager 3 and get this application. You can name it what you'd like. Here we've got the home page inside this application, and as you can see up above, there are a couple of places where we can add records, like an add project record or add a task record. But I'm going to be focusing on this companies table here. Now this is going to keep track of company information, this one projects, this one tasks. If I click on company, notice there's a button right here called New Company. And if I click on it, this is a form. And as you enter your data inside here, and we'll say this is for Tom Jones, for instance, and we'll make him the CEO, and he'll be at 850 Boylston Street. And there, we've got a form. I'm going to click on Save. So we've in essence added a row to the spreadsheet. Some of the time you're going to find forms like this are not representing all of the types of information that you want to collect. For instance, right above address, for instance, if I hover over that and right click, I can insert onto this form a new field behind or in front of. I can remove a field. I can move them up and down, left and right, and I can edit. In this situation, I'm going to add a field right in front of this, and I'm going to create a brand new field. And let's call it a picture. And a picture is what? Now there are many different field types that you can use. I'm going to select File Attachment and I'll say Done. And now I've got a record that has a picture field. And if I use the Edit mode over here, Edit, I can turn this back into something where I can change the field values. And I'm going to put Dudley Do Right in here and say OK, and then click Save. And now that record has a field in it on a form. And this says Dudley Do Right. I can edit this again, and I can select a different type of graphic. Here, let's put Rocky the Flying Squirrel. We'll say OK and save, and now we've got Rocky the Flying Squirrel here. Now, why aren't we seeing the picture? Let's right-click and edit. So you can right-click and change the number of historical revisions you'd like to keep. You can flag that if they're graphical, you'd like to keep an eye on those, and a number of other things with properties. So now we have the capability of viewing Rocky and the revision history and revert back to and restore. Let's refresh this browser, and we're back to Dudley Do Right. That's how easy it is to add a field to a form. Now I keep calling this a form, and you can see sections here. You can see that they're collapsible here. Anytime you wish, you can change the formatting of a form so that you can inject these section headings here. And let me come over here to customize this form, and we'll take a look at what that is like. Here's a section heading above, and here's a field, and here's another blank. This is a blank spot, which you can remove, by the way. Further down on the page, there's an area for remove. And as you can tell, some of these have checkboxes in them. And if you check these, this will put the field on the same row. So that's how you can kind of tab across the form. Another way we might like to add fields on a form is to click on the Settings tab up above here and go into Fields here. This lists all the different fields, the types of fields, and you can copy them as well as you can delete them. You can flag them on the left-hand side if you wish to. You can also click on Advanced Options because there are a number of other things like the field ID that you might find interesting, or whether or not a field is part of a relationship, if it's searchable, reportable, all those types of things can be modified into this view so that you can keep an eye on them. You can also look for a field by doing a search like that. But let's add some fields here. You can see we're in the fields area here. I'm going to go up on the right-hand side and click on New Fields. And we're going to add some opportunity information. So I'm going to say opportunity. And then I'm going to put this in here. That's not necessary. It's just a label. But this is currency. And I'm going to put probability. And that will be a percentage. And what is that but a percentage? So you can see there's rich formatting in here. And one other field, let's say a pipeline. And this is going to be dollars and cents, so I'm going to call that currency. Now notice you've got numeric currency here, but there are other field types way down below here, like formula numeric is what it is. I want this number and this number to be put in manually, and then this one will be a calculated field. We can continue on. Let's say projected closing date, and this will be a date, and actual closing date will also be a date. And I'm going to click on Add here, and it's reminding us that these are going to be appended to the form. And by clicking on Add Fields to Forms here, we've now created a bunch of these new fields. Okay, let's exit the settings and take a look at what the form looks like. Way down at the bottom you can see these new fields, and they're not really in the place that we want them to be. If I edit this and I put and I scroll down, it kind of scrolls off the page. So before I actually start working with this, let's move these up and give them their own section. I'm going to right click on opportunity and I'm going to edit the form there. And you can see that when I right click and edit on a field, it actually takes me to the field itself here. I don't have to search for it. But I'm going to press down Shift on my keyboard and use my mouse to do the range of these. And then I'm going to use, down at the bottom left-hand side, a little off the screen for right now, there's a up button, and we'll move this up. And I'll take this right up to where the picture is, right above the picture, and you can see that's in number 11 right there. Now, so we've got the opportunity information. So if I click on opportunity and down at the bottom of the screen I click on Insert, I can create a section heading, a text section, and I can grab other fields to put onto the form. So I'm going to put a section heading inside here, and I'm going to label this opportunity. Now, do I want the labels above or to the left? I'd like them above, and opportunity is there. Now, I'm going to save this just for a second so we see how our progress is. And you can see they're all vertically described right here. And I also want to put a section heading right above picture for, we'll call it details. Right click, and I'm going to edit a form. Now I'm doing this right click, and as you can see, it goes right to the place where I want to go. I can click on Insert, and I'll put another section in here for details. And I'll say OK, but once again, it's still very vertical and it's taking up a lot of real estate. So now I'm going to use the other method of customizing the form. It's in the upper right-hand side called Customize this Form. And now I have to look. So now I have to find, because I'm at the top of the page, there, opportunity. This is an opportunity to show you about this checkbox function here on the upper right here. So opportunity is the first field inside there. Probability, I'm going to say click is right next to it. And then pipeline is going to follow this in one row. Projected closing, actual. Notice I left a space here. Let's say save and see what we have. There, we've kind of condensed this and tabbed this information over. So if we said the opportunity is for $125,000 and the probability was 90%, and I save this, you can see that this opportunity amount is displayed in probability. But what about the pipeline? If we say that the pipeline is the multiplication of 125,000 times 90%, how do we program this so that it does it automatically? Right click and edit. And I'm going to come down here into the formula area, and if you don't remember the field name or what to put there, use your mouse and hover over the fields and function part of this and scroll down to find out the I think we have opportunity amount, and click to the right and use the multiplication to go to opportunity times probability. And let's scroll down even further because there is a bunch of other functionality that's here. You can display the decimal spots. Let's say you wanted 2 decimal spot resolution. You can change the formatting, where the commas are placed. And how is this displayed? We've got it defaulted as a simple number, but I'm going to switch it to currency here. And you can see the default is the US dollar. You can change those formats if you'd like to on an application level if you'd like to. But now we've got this projected pipeline right there as a formula. Let's edit and change the date here. We'll say the projected closing date is the 31st of January, and we'll click on Save, and you can see how you can update this information. Next, we'll add a couple of fields here. I'm going to right-click on Opportunity and insert a field. I'm going to scroll down and create a new field, and I'm going to say Income Tax. And I will come down and call this, what are we going to call this? This is going to be a percentage. There's the income tax rate. Right click, add a field after this. I'll call it sales tax. Create a new field for sales tax rate, which is going to be a percentage as well. And now I'd like to put them side by side. And of course, you can use this link at the upper right-hand side, but I'm going to right-click here and edit the form. Takes us right to that field, and I'm going to check this checkbox so they're side by side. What we're about to do is update the information inside here. And let's say, since this is a Massachusetts location, the income tax rate is 5.3%, 5.3, and the sales tax is 6.25. I'm going to click Save, and we've updated this information here. So you can manually have this information, but you can also use a form to automatically fill this information out as well. And let's talk about form rules. In the upper right-hand side, you can see Customize this form. Let's click on this. And I'm going to use a very basic form rule here. And I'm going to click on Add a New Rule and say when the, and I'll come down here where the state and region is equal to, and now I get to select which one of these it is. And let's say we're going to say Massachusetts. I would like to change the value of the income tax rate to 5.3, and let's save this and check out what happens when we're adding a new company now. Now if I come down here to address and I say we are at 850 Boylston Street, you can see the income tax rate is indicated here. Now, if I had done a form rules for the sales tax, that might be something we could add in here as well. You can also add text sections to your forms to put paragraphs of information and data if you'd like to. For instance, you can see under Opportunity, I'm going to click into that section and insert. Down at the bottom, a little bit off the page, is a button at the bottom that says Insert. And this time I'm going to add a text section with a little bit of please insert your opportunity information here. And I'm going to click on Save. And now you can see that there's information displayed here in text. Now I can customize the form, and you'll also see some other pieces here. Let's go back over to that text section. Notice the HTML part here, limited. What's that mean? There are many different HTML types that are supported here, tags. I'm going to use the bold one right at the top here, and then also come across to the right. And so it actually allows you to use a text section to put in graphics if you wish to do that kind of thing. Let's hit Save. And see, now you can see that this is emboldened here. There are a bunch of other field types here as well. I'm going to right click on sales tax and add a couple of these so you see what they look like. And I'm going to scroll down, create new fields. And this one is going to be a status field. Let's call this status icon. And I'm going to create, as I scroll down through the many different field types that are here, way down at the bottom, we're going to use formula text field and a formula URL field. These are very commonly used fields that you'll be working with. And notice there's nothing here. So I'm going to right click this and edit the field properties and insert into the formula area a graphic. See, notice it's just using HTML image source. And let's click on allow some HTML here and click on Save and see what we have. Notice it's not a valid expression. Well, let's take a look at what we've got here. And one other thing, we want to be able to close this tag and put a question mark here. Make sure that the question or the quotation marks are vertical, straight up and down. If you're cutting and pasting something from Microsoft Office or something, many times these will switch to curlies and it's not going to work for you. So let's click Save and see what we have here. We've got a displayed picture or graphic here. And let's add the next one, add another field right next to this. And we'll say webinars. And this one is going to be, if we scroll way down the bottom, a formula URL. So these are the two that you'll be using a lot. Now this once again is not programmed, so I'm going to right click on it and edit the field properties here. And inside here and say HTTP, we'll go to QuickBase.intuit.com/webinars, and we'll close this here. Now let me save this so you see what we have. You see we've got a link here, and if I click on it, it's going to take us where we want to go. But I'm going to edit this once again. And this time I'm going to come down to the bottom here under options and say display this as a button and put webinars in that button. And now let's see what it looks like. And you see this. Now you no longer need the heading text. Let's right click and edit the form. And notice on the right side, using alternative label text. Click, and I'm going to leave that blank and then save. Now if I click on that, click, it takes me over to the page webinars. Let's go back. We've played with a formula URL and a formula text field. Now both of these are programmable. Let's say if the opportunity amount is over 100, we want this to be red. So else it'll be just blank. So we can right click on this, edit the field properties, and put conditions around it and say something like if the field, and once again we'll use this little picker on the side here, if the opportunity amount is greater than, let's say, 100,000, then display this color red, else, and I'll just put quotation marks and close this. So we've just put a basic if statement. Now there are many other formula fields and functions. Way up at the top of these you'll say select a function, and you can browse through all the different things that you can do with formulas. Notice that there's no graphic that's here. And if I made this 125,000, and it'll show up in the formula here. Now let's talk about importing and exporting. If I come up under companies, if I click on more, you can see here I can import and export into this table. Now there's only 9 records here. Let's click on that. And what we'll do is we'll import from a clipboard. Now, what do I mean by clipboard? Well, if I toggle over to a spreadsheet like the one that we've got here, I can actually grab the information like this, phone, fax, mobile, and email, right-click and copy, and bring it back over to QuickBase and paste that information and select which one of the tables I want to import it into. Now, I could also browse for a file, and you can see the different file formats that you can do. You could do a native Excel file if you'd like to. It's the first tab in a workbook. Should you be using an Excel workbook, it'll only import in that first one. So let's use the clipboard and say import. Now there are a number of fields that already exist in QuickBase, and it does a pretty good job of lining these up here, but let's review them. Is this the company information? Yes. Is this the contact? Yes. The title? Yes. But notice this one is blank. I know that there's a field in here for address 1, so let me find it. And so I'll use street 1, and the same thing for city, address city, and then address state, and then address postal. Now if you find that you're going to be importing in a column that doesn't exist inside here, you'll see that it'll say create a new field, and it will suggest to you what the header information was from the spreadsheet, and you can format it in any which way that you'd like to as it's importing. But we're going into an existing field for phone. I'm going to click on import in the upper right side, and it brought in 26 different records. And now I can go to the applications dashboard, or I can come up under companies, click on that, and you can see all these new flags here indicated from all the imports. And if I view them, this particular one from Acme Company doesn't have some of the fields filled out because we only imported a certain amount of the information. Now let's talk about exporting information. As I said before, if I click on the company tab and come over to more, I can also export. And I want to export a table as a CSV file, a tab delimited file, or an XML file. And I'm going to say company information and export to a file. Now, off the screen and down, it's actually created a CSV file. If I launch it, it'll open up my Excel document and show me those particular columns that are a part of that export. Okay, let's talk about multiple forms. If I come up under companies and I say new company, notice the information here, the opportunity information. I'm an administrator in this application, but if my team members don't need to see this information, so let's take a look at how we might do that. So if I click on, since I'm in company information, and I click on settings, notice down below here, there's 2 forms here. Let's click on this. And this is the default one. And then there's a company grid edit form. You can customize the types of forms that you have here. Let's create a copy of the company form there, and come down here, and I'm going to take opportunity all the way down to here. Now, just off the screen at the bottom, there's up, down, insert, and remove. I'm going to be clicking the remove. So notice that none of the opportunity information is here. And I might even go down even further and take this information off and click on remove here as well. So the form has fewer fields displayed on it. What are we going to call this? So first of all, I'm going to apply the changes in the upper right. I'll go into properties and change the name of the form. We'll call this for team member, and we'll click on save. Okay, so now we've got a form that's different than the company form, but how do we invoke it? You can see team member right here. This allows us to configure what anybody sees, and by default, everybody gets this company form. But notice down under team members, we can say if you're adding a record, we want you to use that one. You can view this one and view this one like that. And now let's go and change our role so that we can see it. We'll exit the settings. We'll add a new company record. Now, remember, we're an administrator or project manager here. So I'm going to click on my name in the upper right side, and I'm going to say test this as another role. I'm going to use team member, and watch what happens to the form. The form is morphed to this. Now there's another side benefit of being able to create custom forms like that, and that is when you create email notifications, you can designate this view of the world to be sent out in your email as opposed to the full version of the form. Having finished this lesson, you should be able to collect, manage, and share your data with QuickBase. Use forms to collect, edit, and display your data. Identify the various field types. Recognize form components, section headings, text sections, and fields. Import and export from Excel, CSV, and tab separated value files. Customize your form design. And perform basic form automation. This concludes this lesson.